Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me once again is my colleague, Forbes staff writer, Zach Everson. Zach, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me back.
We've talked about Alt5 Sigma before, and this is the fintech company that struck the billion-dollar deal with World Liberty Financial, the crypto venture associated with the Trumps. And you have new reporting on Alt5 Sigma, and I think that the easiest way to break this down would be in chronological order. So let's go back to October. You reported then that the firm's CEO was suspended by the board. Then in November, you reported an inconsistency surrounding the timing of when the CEO was placed on temporary leave, and that could have violated SEC rules. Now you're reporting that yet another filing discrepancy could also violate SEC rules. This instance has to do with the timing of the accountant leaving. So, to start off the conversation, what exactly did Alt5 Sigma tell the SEC?
So this is what got interesting. Alt5 Sigma, back about a month or so ago, informed the SEC that it could not file its quarterly report on time for a variety of reasons that had been laid out in a previous filing, and also that there had been delays associated with its accountant. So I was writing an article on the fact that they could not file this quarterly report on time. This was before Thanksgiving. So in the course of my reporting, I reached out to the accountant and said, hey, Alt5 Sigma says there's a delay with your report. What's going on here? And the accountant said something I was not expecting, which was, I stopped working for them in August. That really struck out because they were the last accountant on record for any of their filings. I then reached back out to Alt5 Sigma saying like, hey, I sent you all these questions about what delays your accountant might be responsible for. Let's step that back a little bit. Who actually is your accountant? And the response came, we don't want to comment on that at this time, which was interesting for such a, what you think would be a simple question to ask a public company on that. So this happened before Thanksgiving. I was working on it. I took some time off. I had some turkey. I had some stuffing. I saw my family. I was going to work on this when I came back. Over the Thanksgiving holiday, though, on that Friday, Black Friday, after the market closed, Alt5 Sigma submitted submitted a filing saying, hey, our accountant told us all of a sudden in November that he was retiring effective immediately. We don't have an accountant. We're working to fix that. That really didn't quite jive with what the accountant had told me. So you've got another example of Alt5 Sigma telling the SEC one thing in a date, in this case that their accountant retired in November. And then you've got the accountant saying he actually told them in July he was going to stop working for them in August, and he's actually not retiring. He's just getting out of the line of business of auditing public companies.
So I guess my next question for you would be, who's lying here? Is it Alt5 Sigma telling the SEC, hey, our accountant just essentially up and left and we're out of luck here when it comes to filing this third quarter report? Or is the accountant lying and didn't really leave months ago?
Are you trying to get us sued? I'm going to walk around that one. We don't know. I don't have any reason to believe that the accountant would have made this sort of stuff up. He said he didn't have anything in writing. He said he spoke to the person who was then the CFO, who's no longer with the company, and that he verbally told them. And, he said, I gave them plenty of notice. Now you've got Alt5 Sigma saying November. Now they have to report something like this within 4 business days. So they couldn't have reported in November and said, oh yeah, hey, our accountant, he left in August. That's problematic. So, I don't know. I don't know exactly what the disconnect happened there, why we have those 2 different dates, but the accountant was adamant he let them know back before the filing of their second quarter report.
And typically, why would a company not file their quarterly report? Is there any indication that this is just perhaps sloppiness, perhaps an oversight, or something more?
Now, the reason that Alt5 Sigma gave in its initial filing that there was going to be a delay and saying they needed a few extra days to do it was they listed a whole bunch of issues that they had going on. They referenced a filing, rather, that listed a whole bunch of issues. Amongst them, there was a problem. The former CFO we were talking about is going through personal bankruptcy issues that involve some warrants from the company. A subsidiary has had issues in Rwanda. They changed up the amount of votes that are required to have a quorum. So there are a whole bunch of issues that were laid out in the previous filing. So we don't know. And I mean, they did say they are having delays involving their accountant. And, if they don't have an accountant, that's probably true. They are having delays because they don't actually have an accountant.
I do want to take a step back here even further. When you're looking at a quarterly report, what information is typically in there and how vital is it for a company?
Oh, it's interim financial information. It's something that's supposed to be very important for investors to decide whether they want to own part of this company or not. It's a major factor. You will hear this throughout, the investment news where, oh, this company's coming, it's releasing its earnings. You see this huge news with, Apple and Nvidia, companies that are much bigger than Alt5 Sigma, but it is a major force there that can massively move markets. Again, not with a company of this size, but it is a major issue. It's one of the few times that companies actually have to report this kind of stuff publicly.